Kyanangena Salakaya Sakshun Militan Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Mahavalyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Karatase Namaha. Reading from Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Ādi-līlā, chapter 10. The title is The Main Trunk of the Chaitanya Tree, its branches and its sub-branches. I offer my obeisances to all the dear devotees of Śrī Caitanya-Mahaprabhu, the eternal tree of love of Godhead. I offer my respects to all the branches of the tree, the devotees of the Lord, who distribute the fruit of love of Krishna. The two brothers, Śrīvas Pandit and Śrī Rama Pandit, started two branches that are well known in the world. Their two brothers were named Śrīpati and Śrīnidhi. The four brothers and their servants and maidservants are considered one big branch. There is no counting the sub-branches of these two branches. Śrī Caitanya-Mahaprabhu held congregational chanting daily at the house of Śrīvas Pandit. These four brothers and their family members fully engaged in the service of Lord Chaitanya. They knew no other god or goddess. Another big branch was Acharya Ratna, and his associates were sub-branches. Acharya Ratna was also named Sri Chandrasekhara Acharya. In a drama in his house, Lord Chaitanya played the goddess of fortune. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, the third big branch, was so dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that in his absence, Lord Chaitanya himself would sometimes cry. Gadadhar Pandit, the fourth branch, is described as an incarnation of the pleasure potency of Sri Krishna. No one, therefore, can equal him. Vakreshvara Pandit, the fifth branch of the tree, was a very dear servant of Lord Chaitanya's. He would dance with constant ecstasy for 72 hours. Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu personally sang while Vakreshvari Pandit danced, and thus Vakreshvari Pandit fell at the lotus feet of the Lord and spoke as follows. O Chandramukha, please give me 10,000 Gandharvas. Let them sing as I dance, and then I will be greatly happy. Pandit Jagadananda, the sixth branch of the Chaitanya tree, was celebrated as the life and soul of the Lord. He is known to have been an incarnation of Satyabhama, one of the chief queens of Lord Krishna. Jagadananda Pandit, as an incarnation of Satyabhama, always wanted to see to the comfort of Lord Chaitanya, but since the Lord was a sannyasi, he did not accept the luxuries that Jagadananda Pandit offered. They sometimes appeared to fight over trifles, but these quarrels were based on their affection, of which I shall speak later. Raghava Pandit, Lord Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu's original follower, is understood to have been the seventh branch. From him proceeded another sub-branch, headed by Makaradhvaja Kara. Raghava Pandit's sister, Damayanti, was the dear maidservant of the Lord. She always collected various ingredients with which to cook for Lord Chaitanya. The foodstuffs Damayanti cooked for Lord Chaitanya when he was at Puri, were carried in a bag by her brother Raghava without the knowledge of others. The Lord accepted these foodstuffs throughout the entire year. That bag is still celebrated as Raghavera Jali, the bag of Raghava Pandit. I shall describe the contents of the bag of Raghava Pandit later in this book. Hearing this narration, devotees generally cry and tears glide down from their eyes. Pandit Gadadhar Das was the 8th dear branch of Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Pandit Gangadas was the 8th dear branch of Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta. One who remembers his activities attains freedom from all bondage. Sri Acharya Purandara, the 9th branch, was a constant associate of Lord Chaitanya. The Lord accepted him as his father. Damodar Pandit, the 10th branch of the Chaitanya tree, was so elevated in love of Lord Chaitanya that he once unhesitatingly chastised the Lord with strong words. I shall describe in detail this incident of chastisement later in Caitanya-caritāmṛta. The Lord, being very much satisfied by this chastisement, sent Damodar Pandit to Navadvip. The 11th branch, the younger brother of Damodar Pandit, was known as Shankara Pandit. He was celebrated as the shoes of the Lord. Sadashiva Pandit, the 12th branch, was always anxious to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. It was his good fortune that when Lord Nityananda came to Navadvip, he resided at his house. The 13th branch was Pradyumna Brahmachari. Since he was a worshipper of Lord Nishingadev, Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta changed his name to Nishingananda Brahmachari. Narayan Pandit, the 14th branch, a great and liberal devotee, did not know any shelter but Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet. The 15th branch was Sriman Pandit, who was a constant servitor of Lord Chaitanya-caritāmṛta. He used to carry a torch while the Lord danced. The 16th branch, Suklambara Brahmachari, was very fortunate because Lord Chaitanya-caritāmṛta jokingly or seriously begged food from him, or sometimes snatched it from him forcibly and ate it. Nandana Acharya, the 7th branch of Chaitanya tree, is celebrated within the world because the two Prabhus, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, sometimes hid in his house. Mukunda Datta, a class friend of Lord Chaitanya's, was another branch of the Chaitanya tree. Lord Chaitanya danced while he sang. Vasudev Datta, the 19th branch of Śrī Caitanya tree, was a great personality and a most confidential devotee of the Lord. One could not describe his qualities even with thousands of mouths. Srila Vasudev Datta Thakur wanted to suffer for the sinful activities of all the people of the world, so that Lord Chaitanya-caritāmṛta might deliver them. The 20th branch of the Chaitanya tree was Haridas Thakur. His character was wonderful. He used to chant the holy name of Krishna 300,000 times a day without fail. There was no end to the transcendent qualities of Haridas Thakur. Here I mentioned but a fraction of his qualities. He was so exalted that Advaita Goswami, when performing the Shraddha ceremony of his father, offered him the first plate. The waves of his good qualities were like those of Prahlad Maharaj. He did not even slightly raise an eyebrow when persecuted by the Mohammedan ruler. After the passing away of Haridas Thakur, the Lord himself took his body on his lap and he danced with it in great ecstasy. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur vividly described the pastimes of Haridas Thakur in his Chaitanya Bhagavat. Whatever has remained undescribed, I shall try to explain later in this book. One sub-branch of Haridas Thakur consisted of the residents of Kulinagram. The most important among them was Satyaraj Kam or Satyaraj Vasu, who was a recipient of all the mercy of Haridas Thakur. Murari Gupta, the 21st branch of the tree of Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta, was a storehouse of love of Godhead. His great humility and meekness melted the heart of Lord Chaitanya. Srila Murari Gupta never accepted charity from friends, nor did he accept money from anyone. He practiced as a physician and maintained his family with his earnings. As Murari Gupta treated his patients by his mercy, both their bodily and spiritual diseases subsided. Sriman Sena, the 22nd branch of the Chaitanya tree, was a very faithful servant of Lord Chaitanya. He knew nothing but the lotus feet of Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Sri Gadadhar Das, the 23rd branch, was understood to be the topmost, for he induced all the Mohammedan Qazis to chant the holy name of Lord Hari. Shivananda Sen, the 24th branch of the tree, was an extremely confidential servant of Lord Chaitanya-caritāmṛta. Everyone who went to Jagannath Puri to visit Lord Chaitanya took shelter and guidance from Sri Shivananda Sen. Okay, then the last verse for today. Lord Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta bestows his causeless mercy upon his devotees in 3 features: his own direct appearance, sakshat, his prowess within someone he empowers, avesha, and his manifestation, avirbhav. So this was it for today, reading from Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Ādi-līlā, chapter 10, by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj, and the purport by Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swāmī Prabhupada. Then we read from In the Light of Loving Devotion, and we are at chapter 4, The Charm of the Upper World. These are from talks of Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakak Śrīdhar Goswami Maharaj. A life worth living. In the divine realm, in the abode of Lord Krishna, we will not be a master. Rather, we shall be very eager to consider ourselves to be a slave. That realm is so high. There is a competition in the conception of slavery, to be the slave of a slave of the slave of the Lord. If we have enough boldness to sacrifice ourselves to the extreme, then we can hope to live in that domain. Hegel expressed, die to live. The conception underlying this is very broad, bold, and of a very deep meaning. The scriptures and the saints ask, Are you ready to die to yourself? Then we can recommend a land where you can live. But are you bold enough to die? That there is nothing worth living for in this plane of Maya, illusion? Are you ready to come to this conclusion? That every particle here is worthless and also mischievous. Have you come to realize that? If you think that this world is not worth living in at all, then you will be easily ready to die, wholesale, and you will be given the opportunity of living a proper life after death. That is really life after death. So you are to die to live, and Krishna, he is for himself and not for any ghost like you. He is for himself, and he is so dignified, and everyone, every atom of his plane is so dignified. They should all be regarded with honor. Everything there, the very soul there, is such. Do you like to live in that land, to become a slave there? Guru Maharaj refers to us here as a ghost, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a concocted expression of ourselves. It's not a reality. Our reality is much deeper. That's the soul. Paradise Lost. In John Milton's poem, Paradise Lost is just the opposite statement. It is better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. That is Satan's opinion. But really, the truth is the contrary. It is better to serve in heaven than to reign in hell. The satanic doctrine was the cause of the fall. Paradise was lost because of Adam and Eve lost their faith in Sharanagati, in surrender.
They lost their faith in Sharanagati.
In devotion, in submission. Their faith in the truth of surrender was disturbed, and they came to live according to their own free will and judgment, under their own responsibility. And so they had to come down into the world of calculation, to earn and eat, to labor and live. In paradise, without labor, sustenance used to come. When Adam and Eve were in a surrendered position, no labor was necessary, but automatically everything was provided for them. Yeah. The soul does not require any food to maintain a material body. It has its spiritual eternal body, and there is no need of any addition, of anything from the outside to keep up its vitality. That is the pure surrendered spiritual life, the world of the soul. But when Adam and Eve came to misuse their free choice, instead of that, their life became labor and live. That entered the world, and Satan was at the back of this. He tempted them. Why are you a slave? There is the tree of knowledge. Take from that. Temptation of knowledge. We souls in the world are very much enamored by knowledge. But Srimad Bhagavatam has said, don't rely on your knowledge. The fruit of the tree of knowledge was tasted by first Eve, then Adam. And that tree of knowledge is dangerous. It brought them down to the world of calculation. It brought them down. The world of surrender is the society of the good, the higher society, where there is no hypocrisy and no conspiracy. So knowledge, calculation of what is good, what is bad, this is meaningless there. Instead, there is an automatic flow of goodness in the whole atmosphere. There is no doubt, no suspicion, and no meanness to cheat one another. So there is no question of any calculation. That is so in the lower part of the spiritual abode in Vaikuntha. And higher again in Goloka, it is more beautiful, more loving, more sustaining, more sweet, and more ecstatic. A sweet home. What is necessary for us is practical faith in that sort of life, in the charm of that sort of life. And Krishna promises, Sarva dharmam parityajam, mam ekam sharanam braja, aham tvam sarva papebhyo, mokshya yishyama ma sucha. From Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 1866. Give up all kinds of religion and surrender unto me alone. I will liberate you from all sins. Do not despair. In the Bible there is a history of the soul's fall, but there it is not described very clearly or minutely how the soul is going up towards the Lord. It is fake, only that the Son of God has come to take the soul up to the divine abode, the abode of God. The fall of Adam and Eve, how that came about, that is very clear, but how the soul is taken from this plane to that, from the lower to the higher, there is not any clear or explicit description, nor of who are residing there in that higher plane. There are so many Christ-like souls who have full faith in God's land, God's actions, God's goodness, so much so that they treat all the wealth, the prosperity, the charm of this world of enjoyment as nothing. They will trample it under their feet. They have died to this world. I resign all covetable posts in this world, however great, of kingship, leadership, or of the charm of a lover like Romeo or a beloved like Juliet. All dismissed. I am ready to dismiss all these things for a higher life, a life mystic, unknown, a sweet, sweet life, a sweet home. Wow, that was a very, very wonderful chapter and alineas. And we continue tomorrow further. Any comments? Wonderful. In the light of loving devotion, Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Rakak Siddhadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
I forgot to put the garlic.
Oh.
Would you like to sing the Hare Hare? Maybe I can sit there. Hare Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hare Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Gopala Govindaram Shri Madhusudana.
Gopala Govindaram Shri Madhusudana.
Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohana.
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana.
Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Śrī Advaita Chandra.
Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Śrī Advaita Chandra.
Śrīdhar Śrīvasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Gadadhara Śrīvasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Rupa Sanatana Bhakta Raghunatha.
Jaya Rupa Sanatana Bhakta Raghunatha.
Śrīdeva Gopala Bhakta Dasa Raghunatha.
Śrīdhar Gopala Dasa Jaya Saparika Sisi Guru Kuranga Sundar Radha Kiridari Juki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Sila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Sila Bhakti Rakak Sila Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Bhagavan Sila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Namacharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pad Vishvavarena Sila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swāmī Prabhupada Ki Jai Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Mat Sri Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Mat Ki Jai Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Mat London Chapter Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees Ki Jai All glories to the world devotees Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande
Haribo Sachi Devī Ki
Jai Maheshwari Didi Ki Jai